Have you noticed that the modern Simpsons feels a bit off? If you're a long-term fan of the show, like me, you probably noticed that something isn't as it used to be in the golden age. As a filmmaker and writer, I'm less interested into the animation or politics behind the show. I naturally pay attention to how the story moves, the rhythm, the structure, the emotional beats, and that's where the new Simpsons feels off to me. Just for the record, I'm not one to advocate for the show's cancellation, but I reserve the right to stop watching the newer stuff to avoid losing respect for something I once enjoyed. I had to watch a few newer episodes for research to make this video, and I found it a little heartbreaking. Back in the golden days, the late 80s and throughout the 90s, The Simpsons wasn't just funny, it was well-written television. Each episode felt like a complete story, unpredictable, layered, and full of heart. But somewhere around the late 90s, things began to shift. The show started moving away from those layered storyline and unpredictable turns. Part of that was natural. Many of the original writers left around season 9, and new voices brought a different tone. Around the same time, television itself was changing. Family Guy was pushing fast-paced cutaway humor, and the internet was starting to shape how people consume comedy: quick, referential, and self-aware. Eventually, The Simpsons adapted to the style. Everything looked and sounded the same, but felt like they were missing that emotional rhythm, the sense of discovery that used to pull you throughout the story. I will give an example of how an episode was structured in the golden era. Take for instance Homie the Clown from season 6, one of those episodes that perfectly captures how layered and unpredictable The Simpsons used to be. It starts simply. Krusty the Clown is everywhere on TV. He is very reckless with his money, and his accountant forces him to open a clown college. Homer is initially stupefied by this idea.
Clown college? You can't eat that.
But after that, he becomes obsessed with it and eventually joins it. It's funny, it's unpredictable, and it's also completely human, the desire to escape the ordinary and become someone special. Then the story evolves. Homer actually goes to the clown college, graduate, and start performing at birthday parties. It's a section on his own, presenting the difficulties of being a clown. Suddenly, he realizes that there are social rewards when people mistake him for Krusty and starts to take advantage of that. By Act 3, things spiral into full-blown chaos. The mob confuses Homer for Krusty and kidnaps him over Krusty's unpaid debt. What began as a lightheaded story about self-expression becomes a crime plot about identity and consequences. It's absurd, but it makes perfect sense within the world the show built. Finally, both Homer and the real Krusty end up in the same mess, and after the usual spring mayhem, everything resets. But it doesn't feel empty. The episode takes you through 4 distinct emotional and narrative stages: desire, transformation, consequences, and resolution. Each act introduces a new layer, a new tone, and yet it all connects seamlessly. That's what made the golden era writing so brilliant. It kept you guessing where the story would go next, and when it got there, it always felt earned. That's the kind of structural complexity that's completely missing today, replaced by episodes that pick one premise and ride it straight to the credits, without much escalation or emotional reason. Take for example a more recent episode, The Star of the Backstage from season 33. It's one of the clearest illustrations on how modern Simpsons storytelling flattened out. It opens with Marge discovering that her old high school theater group is doing a reunion musical, and that's the entire premise. By the end of the first minute, you already know exactly what the rest of the story will be. She joins the group, things go wrong, everyone makes up, and it's over. There's no tension, there is no "where is this going" moment. The structure doesn't evolve, it just sustains itself. Throughout the episode, Marge feels jealous of her old friend, the star of the show. The emotional bit is clear and valid, but it never changes. Every song, every scene just restates the same feeling in a slightly different setting. It doesn't build, it loops. Even the visual style feels more like a presentation than a story. The songs and colors are polished, but they don't serve a dramatic purpose. They serve a concept. The whole thing plays like an extended sketch rather than a miniature film. Compared to Homie the Clown, that episode began with curiosity and kept evolving. Every act shifted the tone, the genre, and the stakes, but it always makes sense. The Star of the Backstage does the opposite. It starts and ends in the same emotional space. The second thing is the consistent lecturing. This is common in our modern age in many forms of media.
You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining.
If before you had a story unfold in front of your eyes that took you places and you could learn something from it, now it feels like the plot is just trying to shove messages down your throat. And don't worry about it, I'm not gonna go into politics. It's not that having a message is a bad thing, The Simpsons always had something to say, but the difference lies in how you used to say it. In the golden era, the lessons emerged naturally from the characters and the situation they found themselves in. You weren't being told what to think, you were shown something funny, human, and sometimes uncomfortable, and you drew your own conclusion. The shift is subtle but massive from a writer perspective. It changes how you engage with the characters. You're no longer watching flawed people trying to figure out life, you're watching symbols in a play act out of thesis. And when a show starts telling you what it wants you to feel instead of making you feel it through the story, it loses the spark of authenticity that made you care in the first place. And I think that's where the real problem lies. Not in the jokes, not even in the tone, but in the storytelling philosophy itself. In that golden era, the writers built every episode around conflict and discovery. A scene existed because it revealed something about the world, about the relationship, about the flaw in someone's character. The comedy came as a byproduct of that honesty. Modern episodes, on the other hand, are built around concept and commentary. It starts with, what if Marge joins a musical? Or what if Lisa becomes a podcaster? And then everything that follows simply supports that idea. The structure doesn't grow, it repeats. So there you have it, folks. That's my take on the modern age of The Simpsons. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear your perspective. I've been making videos for over 8 years now and recently wrapped up the project about scuba diving, something completely different but still rooted in storytelling. Regardless of what type of venture I find myself in, I try to craft stories that keep people engaged and guessing where the plot will go next. The same quality that once made shows like The Simpsons so captivating. It's not always the most lucrative approach in an era of quick clips and instant gratification, but for me, staying true to that kind of storytelling matters more. And honestly, I think there is still an audience out there that values depth over dopamine. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.